So last Friday, I tried something for the very first time. I hosted a live 1-hour co-working session, a virtual co-working session with the members of the School of SweetGeorgia, where we sat for an hour in a Zoom room being super focused, super quiet, and getting a lot of work done. At the same time, I also live streamed my actual work process to this here YouTube, and many of you guys got to watch me weave off the rest of a project and beam the warp for the next project that's going to go onto the loom. Now, I want to talk today a little bit about that whole experience and what I learned. Hey there, thank you so much for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia and the School of SweetGeorgia, and we come here every week and we talk about stuff to do with the fiber arts. Mainly, I am focused on talking about the importance of making time to make things. And one of the biggest challenges that many of us have is finding time to actually do the crafts that we love and enjoy. How do we prioritize that time? How do we make sure that we get that making time in? And so part of the goal of setting up these sessions to do virtual co-working or to do live streaming is really to focus on actually getting things done, actually showing up to make that time. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about what I learned through that entire process. The first thing that I learned is that making the commitment to show up makes all the difference. So one of the things that has come up is that for many, many months now, I have had blocks of time scheduled out on my calendar. Google Calendar gives you the option to create things even called focus blocks, where any sort of incoming invitation will automatically be declined if it's in that focus time. So I have focus times for this block I'm going to be weaving, this block I'm going to be writing, this block I'm going to be doing accounting. But at the end of the day, because these blocks are made by me, for me, and only for me, they often get overwritten by all sorts of other things that come up. But if you make an appointment with other people, if I make an appointment with other people, I always show up. I'm always there. That time is reserved, it's dedicated to those people. And so I'm showing up, it's not just for myself, I'm responsible to other people as well. So making the commitment to block out the time and saying that you're going to show up can actually help you show up and get things done. The second thing that I learned is that preparation is key. One of the things that I had said ahead of time is that during that 1-hour session, what I was going to be working on was finishing up whatever was on the loom and then getting on with the next project, next warp. So that means that I needed to make sure that the warp was wound, which I had done a while back. But making sure that the warp was wound, making sure that I could locate where I had put the warp that I had wound so long ago, figuring out what my threading plan was going to be and printing that out and having that ready and available, just knowing what I was doing, spending a few minutes, not a ton of time, but a few minutes to kind of like wrap my head around what is it I'm going to do for that 1 hour when I actually show up. That's very important. Rather than showing up and then looking around for all of the stuff, that would have been a bit of a waste of time on my part and on everybody else's part. So just preparing ahead of time for the session that you know that you are going to be having is incredibly helpful. So the third thing that I learned is momentum is very, very helpful. And that is once you get started, once you're already going, it's very easy to keep going. So I had spent the hour of focused time working on finishing off the weaving on the loom and then beaming the warp. And at the end of the hour, I said goodbye and good night and turned off the computer. And then I thought, well, since I'm here, I'm just going to keep going. And so I continued on for another hour or so, threading all the heddles. And so the entire warp is set up. The entire project is set up on the loom now and it's ready to go. And all of that was just because I had just gotten started. It's so difficult to get started sometimes, but once you're started, it's easy to keep going. The fourth thing that I learned is to remove distractions. I think it was great to be able to sit in a quiet Zoom room with everybody on mute and we're all there coexisting, and I feel a little bit like I owe it to everybody else to be doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing and focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing, as opposed to being in that room and maybe like surfing my phone or trying to figure out what song to listen to or looking for a snack or something like that. Rather than doing all those other things that are super distracted, just to be really focused on what it is that you're doing, I think is really, really important. So one of the things that I noticed for myself was that even just being in the Zoom room, even though there were other people there on screen and I could kind of see them in the corner of my eye, I didn't spend too much time actually looking and seeing what other people were doing. I could tell kind of like people were working away, but I'm not looking because that, again, could have been distracting. And just knowing that they were there made it easier for me to get things done and focus on my own work. So again, just minimizing distractions can be very, very helpful. Something super simple is just leaving your phone in the other room can help you get things done. So all of these things help provide a bit of a framework to help you get things done. Blocking off the time, being responsible not just to yourself but to other people, showing up for other people, preparing ahead of time, knowing what you're going to work on during the time that you have available to work on it. All of these things can be super, super helpful to actually getting things done. Now, one thing I did want to mention is about distractions and about trying to, multitask and things like that. One thing that was very challenging was being in the Zoom room at the same time as I was also trying to live stream, and juggling those two spots was really challenging. And I talked about this with Greta afterwards, and she's like, oh, you weren't just in 2 places, you're trying to be in 3 places at the same time, because not only were you in the Zoom room and also on the live stream, you were also in the studio trying to weave. And so trying to be in 3 different places at the same time, doing 3 different things was extremely challenging. So what I'm going to do to shift this experiment and tweak a little bit and try some different things is that I'm going to separate the 2 activities. And that is that the first activity is going to continue being that co-working session. It's a virtual co-working session with members of the School of SweetGeorgia. And what we're going to do is meet at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in the Zoom room, and we'll have that quiet time. So 5 minutes of time where we're going to just quickly talk about what our goals are for that session, and then 50 minutes of concentrated working time, and then 5 minutes to catch up and say, hey, what did you actually make this time? Did you succeed in getting the things that you wanted to get done? And then at 2 o'clock, when that ends, we're going to go take a break. And then at 2:15, I'm going to come back on, flip on the live stream, and we can have a much more chatty, distracted, just kind of like I'll be working here in this attic on my knitting machine, and you're more than welcome to come and hang out and ask questions and talk about yarn and all sorts of things like that. And so we're going to do that at 2:15 Pacific Standard Time, and that will run for however long it runs. And I look forward to seeing you back here for that session. So if you are a member of the school, I invite you to come and join me inside that Zoom room at 1 o'clock on Friday, today, this afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you are watching on YouTube, feel free to come back at 2:15 and we'll do a live stream here from the attic, and I'll just talk a little bit about what I'm working on as I work on that. So again, one of the things that I value about learning is this idea of being able to try things that might be a little bit awkward or weird or uncomfortable, and then figure out what's working, what's not working, tweak, reiterate. All of these things are part of the entire learning process, whether it's about fiber arts or anything else that we're doing. So I value that process of just trying, failing, reiterating, try again, all of this kind of stuff. And so I hope that you guys will join me as I continue to experiment with all of these different ways of sharing with you the things that we're doing and things that we're making and how we're making them. That is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you this afternoon again here on this channel. All right, bye for now.